Hey everyone, Rynaut here from Architecting Automation, and I'm joined today by my awesome co-host, Alex. Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to be putting on our test architect hats today and diving deep into the absolute bleeding edge of inference economics.
Exactly. You know, as principal architects and staff engineers, we spend our days building these incredibly robust orchestration stacks. But the core challenge we're always facing is protecting your ELA, your enterprise layer architecture. So what actually happens when the very foundation of our model infrastructure just completely shifts beneath our feet?
That is the exact question we're answering today. We're looking at how to maintain a true zero blast radius in the face of some massive tectonic architectural shifts that are happening right now at the model layer.
Okay, I want to start with a quote that really sets the stage. The attention mechanism inside every LLM you call today has a quadratic scaling problem. That is just a hard, unavoidable truth of our current technology stack.
It is. But here's the wild part. The secret that the research community has been quietly acting on behind closed doors? They have actually been building the replacement for standard attention for about 3 years now. The post-transformer era? It's not just some academic theory anymore. It is actively being engineered as we speak.
To really understand why this matters to us as practitioners, I want you to imagine a specific scenario. Let's call it the victim scenario. Picture a brilliant architect who just deployed this incredibly complex LangGraph agent system into their enterprise layer architecture. They've spent months building specialized sub-agents, highly robust memory systems, and this beautiful complex routing logic.
Right, and they have meticulously optimized absolutely everything around one specific model's latency profile and token costs. Everything is just perfectly dialed in for their production environment.
And then, seemingly overnight, a new model generation drops. It uses a totally new architecture underneath the hood, and suddenly its inference costs plummet by 60%. Boom!
Suddenly, their entirely carefully crafted cost model is invalidated mid-production. They are forced to re-architect their entire orchestration stack from scratch just to stay competitive. That right there is a massive, uncontrollable blast radius.
Exactly. Model architecture changes are not just a research concern. They literally change inference latency, memory bandwidth requirements, and the fundamental economics of running production agents. An architect who doesn't track these attention alternatives is one model release away from a completely invalidated cost model. So to prevent this, we are tracking 3 concurrent shifts today: RBF attention, the Chronicles framework, and Google's TPU-7 Ironwood.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be hitting 1. The dot product ceiling, 2. RBF attention architecture, 3. Training acceleration, 4. The TPU v7 silicon shift, and finally, 5. Architecting production systems.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the dot product ceiling.
Let's clearly define the core of the issue we're facing: scaled dot product attention. In standard self-attention, you're taking the dot product of your query and key matrices, you scale it by the square root of the key dimension, and then you apply a softmax function.
Right, and the mathematical reality there is that the variance of a dot product grows directly with its dimension. So as your sequence gets longer, the values grow exponentially larger. Without scaling, those massive values push the softmax function into these extreme flattened regions,
Which causes the classic vanishing gradients problem. The model's gradients become so infinitesimally small that it basically just stops learning entirely. But even from a pure production engineering standpoint, even with all the scaling fixes applied, this mechanism is an absolute computational nightmare for executing autonomous agents.
And that brings us to the crucial point. This mathematical notation right here, big O of n squared, standard self-attention scales quadratically with sequence length.
Think about what that actually means. If you are building agentic systems with really long tool call histories, this scaling is just brutal. Every single time you double your context length, you inherently quadruple your attention computation.
Quadruple. Exactly. Think about recursive context accumulation in LangGraph. As an agent loops through tools fetching data, it just keeps appending that data to the context. This quadratic math is the absolute primary inference cost driver for your orchestration stack. It is quite literally the ceiling that limits how autonomous your agents can actually be in a production environment before you go bankrupt.
So the path forward requires us to compare standard dot product attention directly against Euclidean distance, specifically using a radial basis function, or RBF for short. A dot product is effectively a similarity vote, right? But it relies heavily on softmax normalization. Because of that forced competitive normalization across all the tokens, it can easily lead to outlier keys hoarding all the attention. We call these massive attention sinks, where a few random tokens basically hijack the model's processing power, which completely degrades the quality of your prompt's instructions. Now, Euclidean distance, on the other hand, naturally regularizes. Tokens that are far apart in the representation space produce near-zero attention weights organically. You are literally measuring physical distance in a geometric space, so you completely bypass the need for that zero-sum softmax competition. If this architecture hits production models, our long context lane graph workflows become significantly cheaper per token overnight.
Which leads us nicely into Section 2, Arief-Formnite Attention Architecture Explained. Diving directly into the actual mechanics here, we're looking at this fascinating concept of non-linearity as rank. When researchers recently analyzed LoRa matrices, they found massive parameter redundancy. By using a Gaussian kernel, which is the mathematical core of RBF attention, they realized they could compress the information spread across explicit rank basis vectors into these highly efficient, non-linear transformations.
Wait, let's unpack that. So instead of forcing every single token to compete in that brutal softmax game we just talked about, what exactly is happening under the hood with this kernel?
Well, the Gaussian kernel produces attention weights that naturally decay with distance. You aren't forcing normalization across the entire sequence anymore. You are purely measuring how physically close tokens are to each other in a feature manifold, which fundamentally alters the required memory footprint of the model.
And the built-in benefits of moving to RBF are honestly profound. First up, you get natural sparsity. Distant tokens automatically zero out without needing any explicit sparse attention masks.
Second, you get built-in regularization, which completely solves that attention sink problem we highlighted earlier. Massive norm vectors can no longer hijack your context window and ruin your agent's reasoning.
And crucially, Gaussian kernels have known random feature approximations. This officially enables subquadratic linear computation.
But hey, let's stay grounded as practitioners here. The current limitations are very real. Due to training instability at massive scales, the benchmark results we're seeing are mostly validated on models under 7 billion parameters. No production frontier model has shipped RBF attention as the default mechanism yet.
Right, for sure. So, as an architect, mapping out your enterprise layer architecture, you should conservatively model the complete RBF cost profile as a 2028 scenario in your infrastructure roadmap. However, expect hybrid models above 30 billion parameters to start testing these waters in the next 12 to 18 months.
Moving on to Section 3, Accelerating Training with Chronicles.
So while researchers are busy rewriting the core attention algorithms, systems engineers are simultaneously rewriting our physical memory constraints. When we look closely at memory consumption, fine-tuning a 7 billion parameter language model standardly requires a massive 84 gigabytes of memory. That immediately exceeds a standard A100 GPU's capacity. Enter the Chronicles framework. They have completely redefined the memory hierarchy for the backward pass. The most staggering achievement here is something called cut cross-entropy. Standard cross-entropy computation for modern 150,000 token vocabularies is a catastrophic bottleneck, demanding up to 5 gigabytes of memory just for that single step. Yeah, and Chronicles slashes that 5 gigabytes down to just 135 megabytes. That is a 37x memory reduction for the cross-entropy computation alone. Literally game-changing.
They achieve this breakthrough by attacking the memory hierarchy so that data moves exactly once. Step 1. They stream through the vocabulary in manageable chunks of 4096. Step 2. They mathematically maintain a running log sum x.
And step 3, which is the absolute game changer in my opinion, they compute the exact same numerical loss without ever materializing the full logit tensor in memory.
It's brilliant. When you combine that with fused Triton kernels, which combine multiple sequential CUDA operations into single GPU kernel launches and gradient checkpointing, where you recompute activations on the fly during the backward pass instead of storing them, this reduces your peak VRAM by up to 40%. And the cost? Just a minor 15 to 20% additional compute time.
The production relevance here is huge. If you are fine-tuning local models within your MLA using frameworks like FlexiLoRa, your hardware requirements just plummeted. A fine-tuning workload that previously demanded a massive RTX 5090 might now comfortably fit on an RTX 4090 with Chronicles active. That changes your team's internal capability instantly.
All right, let's look at the hardware side in Section 4, TPU v7 and silicon shifts.
The stark hardware realities become extremely clear when we compare Google's TPU v7 Ironwood against standard GPU clusters. Ironwood brings 192 gigabytes of HBM3E memory, 4.6 petaflops of dense FPA compute, and a staggering 1.2 terabytes per second of interchip interconnect bandwidth per individual chip.
The reason this translates to such a massive cost efficiency advantage is that standard GPU clusters often sit completely idle.
They waste so much valuable time and money just waiting for gradient synchronization during distributed training.
Exactly.
Ironwood leverages native FPA support and optical interconnects to completely eliminate that traditional bandwidth bottleneck, meaning the compute is almost always saturated. It's wildly efficient.
Listen to this quote from SemiAnalysis. Anthropic signed a deal for 1 million TPU v7 chips, providing up to 52% lower cost per effective flop compared to NVIDIA GPUs.
That supply chain intelligence is massive market validation. Achieving a 52% lower cost per effective flop is staggering at data center scale.
When Frontier Labs can drop their total cost of ownership by 30 to 44%, it permanently alters the orchestrator trust surface. You simply cannot ignore a macroeconomic shift of that scale when you are building your dependencies.
Absolutely. It shifts the entire landscape of production inference economics. If Anthropic is paying half as much for compute, the inference API costs you pay are going to compress aggressively to match.
The secret weapon enabling this massive scale is optical circuit switches, or OCS. Instead of using fixed copper cabling, Google actually uses micro-mirrors to physically redirect light beams. This links the chips with essentially zero latency.
Rynaut, it sounds like sci-fi, right? And these optical switches reconfigure in sub-10 nanosecond windows, flawlessly supporting massive pods of 9,216 TPUs.
But Alex, let's look at the real architecture implication here. Are you saying the exact same model architecture will actually behave differently if it's trained on Google Cloud versus an NVIDIA cluster?
Yes, precisely. Because of the specialized TPU hardware and how it fundamentally handles different numerical precisions at the silicon level, it produces different weight distributions than a GPU-trained model. Your inference activations behave differently based entirely on the underlying silicon. That is a massive, subtle variable for an architect to track.
And finally, Section 5, Architecting Production Agentic Systems.
So what does this all mean for LangGraph architects today? Here is your highly actionable 24-month roadmap for navigating these model layer shifts. First, regarding context window economics, you have to assume quadratic costs remain the standard for now. Design your agent workflows to strictly minimize context accumulation. Instead of passing massive chat histories back and forth, summarize state aggressively and pass only essential payloads between your subagents. Second, actively track hybrid models. Models like Qwen3 Next-A are actively blending standard attention with new linear attention mechanisms like gated delta nets. Those hybrid architectures are specifically designed to bridge the exact gap between today's quadratic tax and tomorrow's linear economics. And third, if your enterprise layer architecture is deployed on Google Cloud, constantly monitor TPU v7 availability. That is going to be a massive potential inference cost reduction event for your team as soon as it goes generally available.
We've covered a lot of deep technical ground today. We've seen how RBF attention aims to permanently kill the dot product bottleneck, how Chronicles is completely rewriting VRAM limits for local fine-tuning, and how TPv7 Ironwood changes the physical limits of data center compute.
So we leave you with this final critical thought. When inference economics undergo a 60% tectonic shift overnight, is your orchestration stack actually ready for the post-transformer era? Or are you just one model release away from a blast radius you cannot contain?
Keep building robust systems and keep tracking the bleeding edge of infrastructure.
Maintain that zero blast radius, protect your ELA, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.